The cold metal of the handcuffs bit into my wrists as I sat in the back of the black van. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Through the small window, I could see Marcus, my boyfriend, the boy I trusted with my whole heart, standing on the street corner, counting a stack of money. He didn't even look up as the van started moving. He just kept counting. That's when I knew he had actually done it. He had sold me, like I was nothing, like our 3 years together meant nothing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back to where this nightmare really began. By the way, if you're watching this, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to know how far this story reaches. Are you from the United States, Nigeria, India, the UK? Let me know. My name is Sophie, and 6 months ago, I thought I had everything figured out. I was 22 years old, working at a small coffee shop in downtown Portland, and dating Marcus Chen, who I thought was the love of my life. Marcus was 25, super handsome with his dark hair always styled perfectly, and he had this smile that could make me forget all my problems. We met 3 years ago at a community college. I was studying to be a nurse and he was taking business classes. He sat next to me in our English class, and when I dropped my books, he helped me pick them up. It sounds like something from a movie, right? That's what I thought too. You're Sophie, right? He had said, handing me my notebook. I've seen you around campus. You're always reading those medical books in the cafeteria. I blushed. Yeah, that's me. The boring girl who studies during lunch. Not boring, he said, flashing that perfect smile. Dedicated. That's actually really cool. From that day on, we were inseparable. Marcus would walk me to my classes. He'd bring me coffee when I had early morning shifts at the hospital where I did my training. He'd stay up late helping me study, even though he didn't understand half of what I was learning about biology and medicine. My mom loved him. My little sister Emma, who was only 12 at the time, thought he was the coolest person ever. Even my dad, who never liked any boy I brought home, seemed to approve of Marcus. He's got ambition, my dad would say. That's what matters in a young man. Everything seemed perfect. But looking back now, I can see all the little red flags I ignored. All the little signs that should have warned me something was wrong. About a year into our relationship, Marcus dropped out of college. I don't need a degree to be successful, he told me one night as we sat in his small apartment. College is just a scam to take people's money. I can make it on my own. I was worried, but I supported him. Okay, I said, holding his hand. What's your plan? I'm going to start a business, he said, his eyes lighting up with excitement. Import and export. There's so much money in bringing products from overseas and selling them here. I just need some startup money. That sounds amazing, I said, squeezing his hand. I believe in you. But months passed, and Marcus's business never seemed to get off the ground. He'd always have excuses. The shipment got delayed. My supplier backed out. I need more money to get started properly. I didn't have much money. I was barely making enough at the coffee shop to pay my share of the apartment I split with 2 roommates. But whenever Marcus asked, I'd give him what I could. $20 here, $50 there. Once, I even gave him $200 that I'd been saving for new nursing textbooks. I'll pay you back triple when my business takes off, he'd promise, kissing my forehead. You'll see. We're going to be rich, Sophie. You won't have to work at that coffee shop anymore. We'll travel the world together. I believed him because I loved him. And when you love someone, you trust them, right? That's what I thought. Anyway, things started getting really weird about 6 months before that terrible night in the van. Marcus began staying out late. Sometimes he wouldn't come home until 3 or 4 in the morning. When I'd ask where he'd been, he'd get defensive. I was working on business stuff, he'd snap. Why are you always questioning me? Don't you trust me? I do trust you, I'd say quickly, not wanting to fight. I'm just worried about you. It's dangerous to be out so late. He'd soften then, pulling me into a hug. I'm sorry, baby. I'm just stressed about money. Once this business deal goes through, everything will be better. I promise. I also started noticing new things appearing in his apartment. Expensive things. A brand new laptop that must have cost at least $1,000. Designer shoes. A fancy watch. When I asked how he could afford these things when he was always asking me for money, he'd say they were investments for the business or gifts from business partners. Then there were the phone calls. Marcus would get calls at all hours, and he'd always leave the room to answer them. I'd hear him speaking in a hushed, tense voice, sometimes arguing with whoever was on the other end. I said I'm working on it. I heard him say one night through the thin walls of his apartment. I just need more time. I'll get you the money, I swear. When he came back to bed, I pretended to be asleep. My heart was racing. Marcus owed someone money? How much? And who was he talking to? I wanted to ask him, but I was scared. Scared of what the answer might be. Scared that our perfect relationship wasn't so perfect after all. The first time Marcus asked me to do something that made me really uncomfortable was 3 months before that night in the van. We were at his apartment watching TV when there was a heavy knock at the door. Marcus's whole body went stiff. "Don't make a sound," he whispered to me, his face pale. The knocking came again, harder this time. "Marcus, open up. We know you're in there." The voice was deep and rough, like someone who smoked too many cigarettes. Through the door, I could see shadows of at least 2 large men. Marcus grabbed my hand, his palm sweaty. We sat there in complete silence for what felt like forever. Finally, the men left, but not before one of them said, "You can't hide forever, Marcus. Mr. Vincent wants his money." After they were gone, I turned to Marcus. "Who was that? Who's Mr. Vincent? Marcus, what's going on?" He ran his hands through his hair, looking more scared than I'd ever seen him. "It's nothing. Just a misunderstanding about a business deal." "That didn't sound like nothing," I said. "Those men were threatening you. How much money do you owe this Mr. Vincent person?" "Sophie, please, just drop it," he shouted, making me jump. He'd never yelled at me before. I felt tears starting to form in my eyes. "I'm just trying to help." He immediately softened. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, baby. I didn't mean to yell." He pulled me close, and I could feel him shaking. "I messed up, okay? I borrowed some money to start the business, and things didn't work out the way I planned. But I'm going to fix it. I just need to figure some things out." "How much do you owe?" I asked quietly. He was silent for a long moment. $50,000. I pulled back to look at his face. 50,000? Marcus, how did you even borrow that much money? And who is this Mr. Vincent? He's a businessman. Someone who loans money to people who are starting businesses. I thought I could make it work, but everything went wrong. He grabbed my shoulders, looking desperate. "But I have a plan. I'm going to fix this. Just trust me. Okay?" What else could I do? I loved him, so I nodded, even though alarm bells were ringing in my head. Over the next few months, Marcus became more and more desperate. He'd started gambling, thinking he could win enough money to pay off his debt. Instead, he just went deeper into the hole. I found out he'd asked his parents for money, but they'd cut him off after finding out he'd dropped out of college. He tried to get loans from banks, but nobody would give money to someone with no job and no credit. I offered to help in whatever way I could. I picked up extra shifts at the coffee shop. I even asked my parents if they could loan us some money, though I didn't tell them what it was really for. They could only spare $1,000, which I gave to Marcus. It was like throwing a cup of water on a forest fire. Then, about a month before everything fell apart, Marcus came to me with a strange request. "Sophie," he said one evening, his voice careful and measured, "I need you to meet someone." "Who?" I asked, stirring the pasta I was making for dinner in my apartment. "A friend of mine. His name is Leo. He's a business partner, and he wants to meet you." Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. "Why does he want to meet me?" "He just does, okay?" Marcus said, getting that defensive tone in his voice again. "Can you just do this one thing for me? It's important for my business." I didn't understand why meeting me would be important for his business, but I agreed. I thought maybe this Leo person was going to invest in Marcus's company or something. We met Leo at an expensive restaurant downtown that I'd never been to before. It was the kind of place where the prices weren't even on the menu, and the waiters wore fancy black suits. Leo was in his 40s, I guessed, with graying hair slicked back and a sharp, expensive suit. He had cold blue eyes that seemed to look right through me, and when he smiled, it didn't reach those eyes. "So this is the famous Sophie," Leo said, shaking my hand. His grip was firm, almost too firm. "Marcus has told me so much about you." "Nice to meet you," I said, feeling uncomfortable under his stare. Throughout dinner, Leo asked me all sorts of questions. Where did I work? Where did I live? Did I have family in the area? What were my plans for the future? The questions felt invasive, but Marcus kept giving me encouraging looks, so I answered politely. At one point, when Marcus went to the bathroom, Leo leaned forward. "You're very beautiful, Sophie, and you seem smart too. Marcus is a lucky man." "Thank you," I said quietly, wishing Marcus would come back. "You must really love him," Leo continued. "To stand by him even though he's in such deep trouble." My heart started racing. "What do you mean?" Leo's smile widened, but it was the smile of a shark. "Oh, he didn't tell you? I'm one of Mr. Vincent's associates. Marcus owes my boss a lot of money. A very lot of money." I felt like the room was spinning. I don't understand. Why did he bring me here to meet you?" "Think about it, smart girl," Leo said, leaning back in his chair. "Why would a man drowning in debt introduce his beautiful girlfriend to the people he owes money to?" Before I could process what he was saying, Marcus returned, and the conversation shifted to other topics. But Leo's words echoed in my head for the rest of the night. When we left the restaurant, I confronted Marcus. "Why did you really take me there? What does that man want?" "Nothing," Marcus said too quickly. "He just wanted to meet you. That's all." But I knew he was lying. I could see it in his eyes. 2 weeks later, everything came crashing down. It was a Friday night, and Marcus had asked me to come to his apartment. He said we needed to talk about something important. I thought maybe he was finally going to tell me the truth about what was really going on. When I got there, he was pacing back and forth, looking more stressed than I'd ever seen him. "Marcus, what's wrong?" I asked, setting down my purse. He stopped pacing and looked at me with tears in his eyes. "Sophie, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." "Sorry for what?" My heart was pounding now. "I did something terrible," he said, his voice breaking. "I didn't want to, but I didn't have a choice. They were going to kill me, Sophie. They were going to actually kill me." "What did you do?" I whispered, even though part of me didn't want to know the answer. Before he could respond, there was a knock at the door. Marcus's face went white. "They're here." "Who's here?" "Marcus. What's going on?" He grabbed my shoulders. "Listen to me. Whatever happens, just know that I love you. I never wanted it to be this way. I'm going to fix this. I promise I'll fix this." "Fix what?" "Marcus, you're scaring me." He opened the door, and 3 large men walked in. One of them was Leo, the man from the restaurant. The other 2 were huge, with muscles bulging under their tight shirts and tattoos covering their arms. "Sophie," Leo said with that awful smile. "So good to see you again." I backed away. "Marcus, who are these people? What's happening?" Marcus wouldn't look at me. He was staring at the floor, tears running down his face. Leo pulled out a stack of money from his jacket pocket and held it out to Marcus. "As we agreed, $20,000. Consider half of Marcus's debt paid off." $20,000? Half his debt? What did that mean? Then it hit me like a punch to the stomach. The restaurant, the questions, the way Leo had looked at me, Marcus introducing me to these criminals. "Marcus," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "What did you do?" He still wouldn't look at me. One of the large men stepped toward me, and I backed away until I hit the wall. "No," I said, shaking my head. No. "Marcus, please, tell them this is a mistake. Tell them." "I'm sorry," he sobbed, finally looking at me. "I'm so sorry, Sophie. I didn't have a choice. They were going to kill me." "So you sold me instead?" I screamed. You sold me like I'm some kind of object? Leo nodded to the two large men, and they moved toward me quickly. I tried to run, but one of them grabbed me. I fought with everything I had, screaming and kicking, but it was useless. They were too strong. Marcus! I screamed as they dragged me toward the door. Marcus, please, help me, please. He just stood there, crying, holding that stack of money. The last thing I saw before they put a bag over my head was his face. Guilty, broken, and cowardly. They carried me down the stairs and out to a van waiting in the street. That's when they put the handcuffs on me. That's when I sat in that back seat, looking out the window, watching the man I loved count the money he'd been paid for selling me. The van started moving, and my whole world fell apart. Where are you taking me? I asked, my voice shaking. Leo, sitting in the passenger seat, turned around to look at me. To meet Mr. Vincent. He's very excited to meet his new acquisition. What's going to happen to me? I whispered. Leo's smile sent chills down my spine. That depends entirely on how cooperative you are, Sophie. Mr. Vincent has many business interests. Some legal, some less legal. Pretty, smart girls like you can be very valuable in many different ways. I felt like I was going to be sick. This couldn't be happening. This had to be a nightmare. Any second, I'd wake up in my bed, and everything would be fine. But I didn't wake up. The van kept driving, taking me further and further away from everything I knew. Away from my family, my friends, my life. All because the boy I loved, the boy I trusted, had sold me to save himself. As we drove through the dark streets, I made a promise to myself. If I survived this, if I found a way out, Marcus would regret what he'd done. He would regret it for the rest of his life. The van turned down a dark alley, and my heart sank even deeper. The van finally stopped after what felt like hours, but was probably only 30 minutes. My whole body was shaking. Partly from fear, partly from the cold metal handcuffs cutting into my wrists, and partly from pure rage at what Marcus had done to me. The back doors of the van swung open, and the two large men pulled me out. We were in front of a massive warehouse by the docks. I could smell the salt water from the ocean and hear the creaking of boats nearby. The building looked abandoned from the outside, with broken windows and rusted metal doors, but I knew that was just a disguise. Leo walked ahead of us, talking on his phone. Yes, sir. We have her. We're bringing her in now. Yes, she's exactly as Marcus described. I understand, Mr. Vincent. My legs felt like jelly as they pushed me forward. Every step took me closer to whatever horrible fate awaited me inside that warehouse. I thought about my mom, who would be wondering why I hadn't called her today like I usually did. I thought about my little sister Emma, who looked up to me so much. What would happen to them when I disappeared? Would Marcus even tell them what he'd done? The inside of the warehouse was nothing like the outside. It had been completely renovated with expensive furniture, marble floors, and crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. It looked like a palace hidden inside a dump. Armed guards stood at every corner, watching us with cold, emotionless eyes. Leo led us down a long hallway decorated with expensive paintings that I recognized from my art history class in college. These weren't copies, they were real. Mr. Vincent must have been incredibly rich and powerful to own artwork like this. We stopped in front of two huge wooden doors. Leo knocked 3 times, and a voice from inside said, "Enter." The doors opened, and I was pushed into the biggest office I'd ever seen. It was the size of my entire apartment, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the docks. Behind a massive desk made of dark wood sat a man who I immediately knew was Mr. Vincent. He was older, maybe in his 60s, with silver hair and a perfectly trimmed beard. He wore an expensive 3-piece suit and held a glass of whiskey in one hand. But it was his eyes that terrified me the most. They were dark, calculating, and completely without mercy. "Sophie," he said, his voice smooth like honey but cold like ice. "Please sit down." One of the guards pushed me into a leather chair across from his desk. My hands were still cuffed behind my back, making it uncomfortable to sit. Mr. Vincent studied me for a long moment, sipping his whiskey. "You're even more beautiful than Marcus described." He did well. Please, I said, my voice cracking. Please let me go. I haven't done anything wrong. I don't even know what Marcus told you. But, he held up one hand, silencing me. Do you know why you're here, Sophie? Because my boyfriend sold me to pay off his debt, I said bitterly. Mr. Vincent smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. That's partially correct. Marcus owed me $50,000. Money he borrowed and then gambled away like a fool. When it became clear he couldn't pay me back, I gave him an option. He could work for me for 5 years, doing whatever I asked, no matter how dangerous or illegal. Or he could sell me, I finished. Exactly. Mr. Vincent stood up and walked around his desk, leaning against it to look down at me. Young, beautiful, educated women are worth quite a lot in my line of business. I could put you to work in many different ways. Some of my clubs need pretty waitresses. Some of my clients overseas pay very well for American girls. Or I could sell you to one of my competitors who runs a different kind of operation. I felt tears streaming down my face. Please don't. Please. I'll do anything. I'll work at your clubs. I'll clean. I'll do whatever you want. Just please don't. Don't what? He asked, his eyes narrowing. Don't sell you like Marcus did? Don't treat you like property? Isn't that exactly what your beloved boyfriend did? I couldn't speak. He was right, and that made everything worse. Mr. Vincent walked back behind his desk and sat down. However, I'm not an unreasonable man. Leo, remove her handcuffs. Leo stepped forward and unlocked the cuffs. I immediately brought my hands forward, rubbing my sore wrists. Here's what's going to happen, Mr. Vincent said, pulling out a folder from his desk drawer. You're going to work for me for 2 years. You'll live in one of my apartments, work at one of my legitimate businesses, a high-end restaurant I own, and you'll do exactly what I say when I say it. If you try to run, I'll find you. If you go to the police, I have officers on my payroll who will make sure you disappear permanently. If you cooperate, after 2 years, you'll be free to go, and we'll never bother you again. Do you understand? What choice did I have? Yes, I whispered. Good. He pressed a button on his desk, and a woman walked in. She was in her 30s, dressed professionally, with kind eyes that seemed out of place in this horrible situation. This is Margaret, Mr. Vincent said. She manages my restaurant and the girls who work there. She'll take care of you, show you where you'll be staying, and explain the rules. I suggest you follow them carefully, Sophie. I don't give second chances. The apartment Margaret took me to was actually nice. Much nicer than the place I'd been sharing with roommates. It was a 1-bedroom apartment in a secured building with a doorman, modern furniture, and a full kitchen. But it felt like a prison because I knew I couldn't leave. It's not as bad as you think, Margaret said, sitting down on the couch while I stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. I was in your position 5 years ago. I turned to look at her. What happened to you? My husband owed Mr. Vincent money. Couldn't pay. So Mr. Vincent took me instead. She said it so matter-of-factly, like she was talking about the weather. I worked at the restaurant for 3 years. He let me go just like he promised. But by then, I didn't really have anywhere else to go. My husband had left the state, my family wanted nothing to do with me, so I stayed. Now I manage the place. So you're saying I should just accept this? I asked, anger rising in my voice. Just accept that I've been sold like a slave? I'm saying you should be smart, Margaret replied. The girls who fight, who try to run, who cause problems, they disappear. The girls who cooperate, who follow the rules, they survive. Some even thrive. It's not the life you planned, but it's life. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something, but I was trapped, and we both knew it. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. I worked at Mr. Vincent's restaurant, which was called the Golden Rose. It was an incredibly fancy place where rich businessmen and politicians came to eat expensive food and make shady deals. My job was to serve drinks and look pretty, which apparently I was very good at because I got lots of tips. But every night, I'd go back to that apartment and cry myself to sleep. I missed my family so much it physically hurt. I tried calling my mom once, but one of Mr. Vincent's men had been monitoring my phone. He disconnected the call and warned me that if I tried to contact anyone from my old life, there would be consequences. I thought about Marcus constantly. I hated him. I hoped he was suffering, knowing what he'd done to me. But part of me, a stupid, weak part, still loved him and wished this was all just a terrible nightmare. Then, about 6 weeks after I'd been taken, something unexpected happened. I was working my evening shift at the Golden Rose when Margaret pulled me aside. "Sophie, there's someone here to see you." My heart jumped. "Who?" "Come with me," she said, leading me to one of the private dining rooms in the back of the restaurant. When she opened the door, I couldn't believe what I saw. Marcus was sitting at the table, looking terrible. He'd lost weight, his hair was messy, and he had dark circles under his eyes. When he saw me, he immediately stood up, tears streaming down his face. "Sophie," he choked out. "Oh God, Sophie, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." All the anger I'd been holding inside exploded. I rushed forward and slapped him as hard as I could across the face. "You sold me. You sold me to criminals. How could you?" He didn't try to stop me or defend himself. He just stood there, taking it, crying. I know what I did. I'm a monster. I'm the worst person alive. But Sophie, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to get you out of here." "How?" I demanded. "How are you going to fix this? Do you have $50,000 now? Can you pay Mr. Vincent back?" "No," he admitted. "But I have something better. I have information." I stepped back. "What are you talking about?" Marcus looked around nervously, then lowered his voice. "I've been working with the FBI, Sophie. For the past month, I've been wearing a wire, recording conversations with Mr. Vincent's men. I've been gathering evidence about his operations, the money laundering, the human trafficking, the illegal gambling, everything. The FBI is building a case against him, and when they have enough evidence, they're going to raid all his operations and arrest everyone." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You're working with the FBI?" "Yes," he said desperately. "That's why I'm here. I told them about you, about how Mr. Vincent is holding you against your will. When they raid this place, they'll get you out safely. You'll be free, Sophie. You'll be free, and Mr. Vincent will go to prison for the rest of his life." Part of me wanted to believe him. Part of me wanted to hope that maybe, just maybe, Marcus was actually trying to make things right. But I'd trusted him before, and look where that got me. "How do I know this isn't another trick?" I asked. "How do I know you're not making this up?" Marcus pulled out his phone and showed me text messages from what appeared to be FBI agents. Then he opened his shirt slightly, showing me a small wire taped to his chest. "It's real," he said. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did is unforgivable. But please, Sophie, believe me when I say I'm trying to make this right. The raid is happening in 3 days. Just hold on for 3 more days, and you'll be free." I wanted to believe him so badly. But before I could respond, the door burst open, and Leo walked in with 2 guards. Well, Leo said, his face twisted in anger. "What do we have here? A touching reunion?" Marcus's face went pale. I was just... You were just what?" Leo walked up to Marcus and grabbed him by the collar. "You think we're stupid? You think we didn't notice you asking questions, hanging around places you shouldn't be? We've been watching you, Marcus, and now we know exactly what you've been doing." One of the guards reached under Marcus's shirt and ripped off the wire, holding it up for everyone to see. "FBI?" Leo said with disgust. "You've been working with the FBI." He turned to look at me. "And you? Did you know about this?" "No," I said quickly. "I swear, I had no idea. He just told me now." Leo studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. "I believe you. You're too honest for your own good, Sophie." He turned back to Marcus. "But you're a dead man." "Wait," Marcus shouted as the guards grabbed him. "Wait, please. I can explain." "I can. Take him to Mr. Vincent," Leo ordered. "Let the boss decide what to do with him." As they dragged Marcus toward the door, he looked back at me one last time. "I love you, Sophie. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Then he was gone and I was left standing there with Leo. "This complicates things," Leo said, pulling out his phone. "If Marcus has been working with the FBI, they might already have enough to come after us. We need to move operations. Now." He made a call, speaking rapidly in what sounded like Russian. Then he turned to me. "Pack your things, Sophie. You're being moved to a different location. Somewhere the FBI can't find you." My heart sank. If they moved me now, and the FBI did raid in 3 days like Marcus said, I'd be gone. They'd never find me. I'd disappear forever into Mr. Vincent's criminal empire. I had to do something. But what? They took me back to my apartment with 2 guards watching me while I packed. My mind was racing, trying to think of a way out of this. If Marcus really had been working with the FBI, and if they really were planning a raid, I needed to make sure they knew where I was going. But how could I do that with guards watching my every move? Then I remembered something. My phone might be monitored, but I had an old laptop in the apartment that I'd been using to watch movies. Mr. Vincent's men had checked it when I first moved in, but they decided it wasn't a threat since it didn't have internet access. What they didn't know was that I'd figured out how to pick up Wi-Fi from the apartment next door if I positioned the laptop near the window. While the guards were distracted talking to each other in Russian, I quickly opened my laptop near the window. My hands were shaking as I waited for it to connect to the neighbor's Wi-Fi. Come on, come on, come on. Connected. I quickly opened my email and started typing as fast as I could. To FBI Portland Field Office. My name is Sophie Martinez. I'm being held against my will by crime lord Vincent Kozlov. Marcus Chun has been working with your agents to build a case against Vincent. I was just told I'm being moved to a new location tonight. I don't know where, but I'm leaving from 524 Harbor View Apartments at approximately 8 p.m. Please help me. This might be my last chance. I hit send just as one of the guards walked over. "What are you doing?" he demanded in heavily accented English. "Just watching a movie," I lied, quickly closing the laptop. "One last time before we leave." He looked suspicious but didn't push it. "Hurry up. We leave in 10 minutes. I finished packing, my heart pounding. Had the email gone through? Would the FBI see it in time? Or had I just made everything worse? 10 minutes later, they were leading me down to a different van. A white one this time, unmarked. Leo was waiting by the driver's door. "Get in," he said. "We're taking you somewhere safe. Somewhere Mr. Vincent can keep better track of his investments." Just as I was about to get into the van, I heard something that made my heart soar. Sirens. Lots of sirens, getting closer. Leo heard them too. His face changed from calm to panicked in an instant. "Go! Go now!" he shouted at the driver. But it was too late. Police cars and black SUVs with FBI written on the side came screeching into the parking lot from every direction, blocking all the exits. Agents in tactical gear poured out, shouting commands. "FBI, put your hands up. Nobody move." The guards reached for their guns, but they were surrounded and outgunned. Leo tried to run, but 3 agents tackled him to the ground. I just stood there, frozen, unable to believe what was happening. One of the agents, a woman with kind eyes, approached me carefully. "Sophie Martinez?" "Yes," I whispered. "You're safe now," she said gently. "We got your email. We were already planning the raid for tonight based on Marcus's information, but your email helped us find you just in time. You're safe now." I collapsed onto the ground, sobbing with relief. It was over. It was finally over. The next few hours were a blur of activity. The FBI raided all of Mr. Vincent's properties simultaneously. The warehouse, the restaurant, his mansion, everything. They arrested over 40 people, including Mr. Vincent himself, who apparently had been planning to flee the country that very night. They found evidence of human trafficking, money laundering, illegal weapon sales, drug distribution, and about a dozen other crimes. The FBI agent told me that Mr. Vincent would likely spend the rest of his life in prison, along with most of his top associates. As for Marcus, they found him in one of the warehouse rooms. Mr. Vincent's men had beaten him badly, but he was alive. He was taken to the hospital, and later, the FBI told me he'd be entering witness protection after he testified at the trials. Do you want to see him? The FBI agent asked me. He's been asking about you. Wants to know if you're okay. I thought about it for a long moment. Part of me wanted to see him, to scream at him, to make him understand how much he'd hurt me. But another part of me just wanted to move on, to start healing, to put this whole nightmare behind me. No, I finally said. I don't want to see him. Not now. Maybe not ever. The agent nodded understandingly. That's your right. We'll make sure he doesn't contact you unless you initiate it. 3 months later, I was sitting in my parents' living room, drinking tea with my mom. After everything that happened, I'd moved back in with them. I couldn't go back to my old apartment. Too many memories of Marcus. I'd quit my job at the coffee shop and was looking for something new. Something that would help me feel like myself again. My little sister Emma, now 15, sat next to me holding my hand. She'd been my rock through all of this, never judging, just being there when I needed someone to talk to. Sophie, my mom said carefully, there's something I need to tell you. I looked up. What is it? Marcus's lawyer called. He wants to see you. He says Marcus is dying. My stomach dropped. What? The beating he took from Mr. Vincent's men was worse than the doctors initially thought. He has internal bleeding that they can't stop. They're saying he has maybe a week left. I sat there in shock. I'd spent the past 3 months hating Marcus, wishing he'd suffer for what he did to me. And now he was dying? Do you want to see him? My mom asked gently. I'll support whatever you decide. I thought about it for days. On one hand, I wanted nothing to do with him. He'd betrayed me in the worst possible way. But on the other hand, he had worked with the FBI. He had tried to make things right, even if it was too late. And now he was dying. Finally, I decided to go. Not for him, but for me. I needed closure. The hospital room was quiet except for the beeping of machines. Marcus looked terrible, pale, thin, with tubes and wires connected to him everywhere. When he saw me walk in, tears immediately started rolling down his face. Sophie, he whispered. You came. I sat down in the chair next to his bed, keeping my distance. I almost didn't. I wouldn't have blamed you if you hadn't, he said. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve anything from you. You're right, I said coldly. You don't. He winced, and I felt a tiny bit of satisfaction at causing him pain. Good. He should hurt like I hurt. I know I can't make up for what I did, Marcus continued, his voice weak. I know that selling you to those monsters is something I'll never be able to take back. I was a coward. I was selfish. I chose my own life over yours, and there's no excuse for that. Then why did you work with the FBI? I asked. If you're such a coward, why did you risk your life to take down Mr. Vincent? Because I realized something, he said, looking directly at me with those eyes I used to love so much. I realized that living without you, knowing what I'd done to you, was worse than dying. Every day after I sold you, I wished I'd just let them kill me instead. At least then I would have died with some dignity. But I died anyway, Sophie. My soul died the moment I handed you over to those men. Fresh tears ran down his face. Working with the FBI was my only chance to save you, to maybe do one good thing before I left this world. I knew they'd probably kill me for it. Honestly, I hoped they would. I deserved to die for what I did to you. I felt my own tears starting to fall, even though I didn't want to cry for him. I didn't want to feel anything for him. The FBI agent told me you moved back in with your parents, Marcus said. I'm glad. You should be with people who love you, who would never hurt you like I did. You should forget about me, Sophie. Find someone good, someone who deserves you. Get married, have kids, be happy. Live the life you were supposed to have before I destroyed everything. You did destroy everything, I said bitterly. You destroyed us. You destroyed my trust in people. You destroyed my ability to feel safe in the world. Do you have any idea what it's like to be sold by the person you love most in the world? No, he admitted. But I think about it every single day, every hour, every minute. It haunts me, Sophie. Your screams as they dragged you away. The look on your face when you realized what I'd done. It plays over and over in my mind like a nightmare I can't wake up from. We sat in silence for a moment, both crying. "I'm not asking for your forgiveness," Marcus finally said. "I know I don't deserve it. I just wanted to see you one more time, to look you in the eyes and tell you that I'm sorry, that you were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it away because I was weak and stupid and selfish. I wanted you to know that even though I don't deserve it, I do love you. I always will, even in whatever hell I'm going to after this." I stood up, preparing to leave. "Goodbye, Marcus." "Sophie, wait," he said weakly. "There's something else. Something important." I paused at the door. "What?" "I have some money saved up. About $15,000. It's in a bank account under both our names. I set it up back when things were good between us, remember? I never touched it, even when I was desperate. I want you to have it. All of it. Use it to start over, to go back to nursing school, to do whatever you want. It's not much, but it's something. The account information is in an envelope with the nurse at the front desk. Please take it." I didn't know what to say. $15,000 wouldn't fix what he'd done, but it would help me start over. "Okay," I said quietly. "I'll take it." "Thank you for coming," Marcus whispered. "Thank you for giving me one last chance to say I'm sorry. I hope someday, somehow, you can find peace. You deserve all the happiness in the world, Sophie. All of it." I left without saying anything else. As I walked down the hospital corridor, I cried, for everything I'd lost, for everything that could have been, for the innocent girl I used to be who trusted too easily and loved too freely. Marcus died 3 days later. I didn't go to his funeral. 2 years later, I stood in my brand new nursing scrubs, looking at myself in the mirror. Today was my first day working at Portland General Hospital as a registered nurse. I'd finished nursing school using the money Marcus left me, combined with scholarships and my own savings from working part-time jobs. My journey to get here hadn't been easy. I'd had to go to therapy to deal with the trauma of what happened. I'd had nightmares for months. I'd struggled with trust issues and anxiety. But slowly, with help from my family, my therapist, and my own determination, I'd healed. I wasn't the same Sophie I'd been before. That innocent, trusting girl was gone forever. But maybe that wasn't entirely a bad thing. I was stronger now, wiser, more careful about who I let into my life and my heart. I'd even started dating again, though I took things very slowly. His name was David, and he was a teacher at the elementary school near my parents' house. He was patient, kind, and understood that I needed time to trust again. We'd been together for 6 months, and while I wasn't ready to say I loved him yet, I could feel myself starting to open up. As for Mr. Vincent and his organization, the trial had been all over the news. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole, along with Leo and several other top associates. Margaret, the woman who'd managed the restaurant, had actually helped the FBI by testifying against Mr. Vincent in exchange for a reduced sentence. Last I heard, she was serving 5 years in a minimum security facility. The FBI had found 12 other girls who'd been in situations similar to mine, sold or traded to Mr. Vincent by people who owed him money. We'd all been rescued and given resources to help us recover. Some of the girls and I had even formed a support group, meeting once a month to talk about our experiences and help each other heal. My phone buzzed with a text from my mom. "Good luck on your first day, honey. We're so proud of you. Red heart." I smiled, texting back a thank you. My family had been incredible through all of this. They'd never judged me, never blamed me, just loved me and supported me as I put my life back together. Looking at my reflection one more time, I thought about everything I'd been through. The betrayal, the fear, the trauma, but also the strength I'd found in myself that I didn't know existed. The resilience, the ability to survive something horrible and still come out the other side. Marcus had sold me to save himself, and in doing so, he'd destroyed both of our lives. He'd paid for his betrayal with his life, but even in death, he haunted my thoughts sometimes. I'd never forgive him for what he did, but I'd made peace with it. I'd learned that some things you don't forgive, you just learn to live with them, to let them become part of your story without letting them define your entire future. As I grabbed my bag and headed out the door to start my shift at the hospital, I made a promise to myself. I would help people. I would use my experiences to make me a better nurse. Someone who could recognize when patients were in danger, who could spot the signs of abuse or trafficking. I would turn my nightmare into something meaningful. Marcus had tried to sell me away, to erase me from his life like I was nothing. But I was still here. I was still standing. I was still fighting. And that, I realized, was the best revenge of all. The end. If the story touched you in any way, please subscribe to this channel to support our growth. Your support means everything and helps us continue bringing you powerful stories like Sophie's. Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and let me know what you thought of Sophie's journey. Thank you for watching, and remember, no matter what you're going through, you're stronger than you think. Stay safe, everyone.